Hey everybody, I got a video here for you today on the Gospel of St. Thomas, this apocryphal text found in the Egyptian desert near Nag Hammadi in Egypt about 70 years ago. Great historical find, but when I first started making realizations about the Shroud and its connection to the formation of what would become Christianity, I was really doubting myself, and at every avenue I tried to debunk myself, and I knew if I was correct in my assumptions, and if my intuition is correct, and I always trust my intuition. But these early books are going to have hints and mention of the Shroud somehow. So one of the first books I looked at was the Gospel of St. Thomas. And the truth smacked me square in the face when I just looked at what this book was all about. And people think it's a guy named Thomas, but no, it's all symbolic. Greek, Didymus. This is the book of Didymus Judas Thomas. Didymus in Greek means twin. And Thomas, you just take off the S, Toma, that means twin in Aramaic. And that's what I really need to look into was Aramaic, because this is where this story comes from. The earliest writings, and the Gospel of Thomas is, I believe, one of the very earliest writings, and it's clear when the Gospels, there is clear references to passages in the Gospel of St. Thomas, and when I looked into the early church writers, what they were saying about the heresies, they quoted from the Gospel of St. Thomas, and this was, in the early 2nd and 3rd century, a century or two before the formation of the New Testament. So I know the Gospel of Thomas is one of the earliest, if not the earliest, source material we have for the New Testament. And it is clear it is all about the Shroud of Turin, and it should be named the Gospel of the Shroud. It is about the twin Jesus. Did Jesus have a twin? It is written from the perspective of the soul of Jesus, or Thomas. So Jesus didn't have a twin, so who was the twin of Jesus coming from the perspective of the soul from Edessa, Turkey? It was the image of Edessa. It's all symbolic. And people have told me I'm crazy. Well, I'm going to read from you a book called The Introduction to Natural Theology by Maurice R. Holloway. And it was just a great book and kind of difficult to read. This was written, I believe, in 1959. But let me just tell you how he sums up his whole book. This is the last summation in his book, how he ends it. It is entitled, Man's Natural Desire for the Beatific Vision. In the Summa Theologiae, first part, 12th question, Article 1, St. Thomas asks himself this question: can any created intellect see the essence of God? He answers that it can, and his third proof is as follows. There is in man a natural desire to know the cause when he understands the effect. It is in this way that wonder arises in man. And so, if the intellect of a rational creature could not attain to the first causes of things, this natural desire would be in vain. Therefore, we must concede that the blessed see the essence of God. The text itself is easy enough to explain. St. Thomas is here speaking as a sacred theologian. He is not trying to demonstrate through reason alone that there exists in man a natural desire to see the essence of God. Rather, as it is clear from the context, he argues as follows. Our faith tells us that the beatific vision is possible, since we know that the blessed do see God face to face. Now this is a vision compatible with the created intellect. Then St. Thomas addresses a probable reason to show why it is, the desire men have to know causes once they know the effect. This is simply another instance where St. Thomas adduces possible reason to show that the mysteries of our faith are compatible with our nature and do not contradict it. He does the same thing, for example, in the Summa Contra Gentiles, where he shows how the resurrection from the dead is possible. The soul is in the form of a body. and so is naturally inclined toward the body. And since in the resurrection from the dead the soul revivifies the body, this act is compatible with human nature and is not impossible. The argument does not prove that the resurrection is a fact. It simply proves that once we know that It simply proves that once we know from revelation the fact of the resurrection, reason sees that it is possible and compatible with our nature. Here too, in our text on the natural desire, St. Thomas argues the same way. There is in the rational creature a certain wish or desire to see God. Therefore, reason concludes it is possible that the vision of God is possible for man, lest this natural desire be in vain. Faith tells us such a vision is possible, since the blessed do have it. Reason Reason tells us that such a vision is not repugnant to our nature, but compatible with it. But reason tells us this is only after the fact is known through revelation. This is all St. Thomas seems to be saying here. And that is so well written because it is clear in the Gospel of Thomas when Jesus is kind of asked to identify himself. He asks, why can't you see it is me? And then there is a revelation. The revelation was the Gnostics' holy wisdom. It was the Shroud of Turin. This book sums up this special revelation. The desire to see God is made possible and is attained by the blessed through a special revelation that they see God face to face in the form of a soul, in the form of a man. And that story comes from Edessa, Turkey. That is where the image of Edessa was. That is what we know as the Shroud of Turin. The Gospel of Thomas should be called the Gospel of the Shroud. Hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.